My Twitch, just see if it's streaming. I'm gonna continue to build the site today. I think yesterday I just figured out how to send the data, but I didn't do anything else. And I'm gonna use ChatGPT to do it. So I need to figure out how to send the data only to one person, I think. I put the timer here, 1 hour and a half. The way that I tested this yesterday, I just run this, and then on the other file, I'll run the model here. And the problem is that I can't send the graph, the entire graph, and I think I'm gonna send this inside of the function. Oh, I forgot to activate the environments. It's weird that it didn't activate automatically. I guess it doesn't activate. It only activates when you run the script. And I'm used to running the script, so directly from here. Yeah, so I see that I receive here. And then the thing is that it doesn't stop, and I think it's just because it's a WebSocket connection. So when you put this thing here, it's just like, it's waiting for a response, I think. Or just send the data, and I have to understand this better. Because here, it's also only sending the first thing here, which is kind of weird. But I guess it makes sense because it's after, so I think it makes sense because it's after everything. So all I have to do is put this stuff here. I'll put this on the top there. I'm back here. Oh, so I have to put this there. I don't think I'm gonna use this function. And I will just put the data directly as a JSON from this part here. But the thing is, this is also other stuff that I was thinking about, but I'm gonna see this later. Which is that eventually I wanna use user input as well here. So I'm gonna probably use the user input, and then from that I make conditions to see what happens. So if they press the arrow keys, for example, it goes back and forth in the simulation. But then I was thinking about how I'm gonna implement this, and increases the level of complexity, because here all I have to do is to structure the stuff in a way that it allows me to have the visualization of the function depending on the data structure here inside, of the way I programmed this. But then if I want to implement this things where the user can go back and forth, then I have to think about how I'm gonna implement this structure so that like what's gonna happen when they go back. I have to think about how I'm gonna create the process in reverse, and it's gonna be really hard, I think. So, but I think I would only do this stuff like I wanna, because this is another thing that I have the tendency of doing, which is just complicating things too much and then not like procrastinating because of that, because there's too many things to do, like being a perfectionist. So I think that the best approach is just to do the simplest thing possible first, and then I'll worry about this other stuff. It's like it's difficult because when you start, like the mind can go a lot faster than what you can implement. So like you're already thinking about all of this different stuff, so it becomes hard to do what you're doing, because then, and that's the tricky part, because depending on all the stuff that you're thinking about, it changes like what are your incentives to building what you're building right now. So for example, if I'm thinking about this implementation in the future of allowing people to change the website or to change the simulation based on the inputs, then it's gonna obviously impact the way that I have to design things here. And that's why it becomes a challenge, because then the more things you think about is like the paradox of choice, where it impacts what you're doing now, because it becomes hard to decide what's the best design approach to choose. So I just want to forget, like, or just keep in the back of my mind all the other stuff, and just try to do the simplest thing as possible, which is just to send the data first and visualize the data, and just get the library. I already found here the source code. I think what I'm gonna do is not download through npm. I'm just gonna download here from here, download the zip, because what I wanna do eventually is to see if I can change the source code. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to use it from, instead of using npm, I just download from here. And also I have to figure out how to do Svelte, because I never used Svelte. Yeah, but let me go back to this. So here, sending the data through here, which is this graph thing here. It's obviously gonna change there. I think I'm gonna disable the Vim shortcuts. Like the whole Ctrl C, Ctrl V thing fucks up everything else, I think. Because you can do the Y 2 times to copy and then P to paste, but then it doesn't allow you to copy stuff from outside of the folder or the file. That's the problem. So here I think I would have to do 2 things here. It should be inside of the condition, so it updates as the thing goes. And the thing that I want to understand is why doesn't it stop here after it sends the data? How to stop this, because I can't stop by pressing the Ctrl C, Ctrl Z, or Ctrl X, Ctrl Q. It doesn't work. Like nothing stops this from running. Hmm. But that's the thing, is because I have to separate them into 2 different files. So I don't wanna do this. I think I just create the loop on the other file though, because it doesn't matter. It's telling me to create the loop here. And then I wouldn't use this. I guess it's because I'm using this thing here, the client. So it's probably in the functionality of this that it makes this not stop, because it creates, once it opens the connection, it's like it's listening to events on the other end. So you can't really close, but yeah, so it uses this loop and then creates the other function. So I have to ask how to implement this. I guess I can just send the data directly. Just put here. Then I'll comment this. So there's two things that I want to figure out right now. One is like understand better. One is what happens when I send the thing here. The other one is how to send the information from this one to only one. Like, that's the issue, is because I'm not going to be sending to the place that I'm receiving, because I'm going to send this to the this Vault front end, and I'm going to receive from this file. So, but I only want to open one connection for each time that this happens, because if there's multiple different people calling this for different scripts, obviously I want to show only the ones that they are calling at the moment. So every time that this sends data through here, this should emit, but only for one place, and this place would be on the front end. So I want to understand how this works better. And I guess I can just, it's probably on the front end. I put, like, I only need to synchronize on the front end. Then every time that this gets called, it creates a unique connection with the front end. Every time there is a message event, but that's the thing. Because does it send to everyone, or? Because from the videos I've seen, it looks like if you use the send function, then it sends the same event for everyone that is connected to the client. So that's the problem, because I don't want that. It's like when you're building a chat application, someone sends the message, then everyone that is connected receives the message. That's not what I want. I want more like a private messaging kind of thing, where only one person receives the message and the other ones don't. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And the thing is, if I use this, that's a problem, because, like, am I emitting to the model then? Because the model is receiving the data. So, but I guess that it emits to everyone, but that's the issue, because like how I'm gonna synchronize the front end with the other file. because that's the problem. Is if you send as false, then it's gonna send to the model, but that's not what I want. But this is also is one of those things that opens up a bunch of possibilities, I think. Because what you could have is just people sharing the same visualizations, and that would be very good as well. So you could have like the same system of that's actually really powerful, I think. Not sure if anyone has thought about that yet. Where like you can have the same people, like you can have a team working on the same code, and then they can share the visualization. Then as someone makes changes to one part of the code, it shows the changes on the visualization, like being updated in real time. And this sounds like it would be really useful for GitHub as well. It's the same thing. But instead of just making pull requests and things like that, you could actually visualize what's going on as people are working on the thing. I think it would make it a lot better to understand what's going on. I'm not gonna focus on this right now. Because like I said, just wanna make it work first. The simplest way that I can. So many questions I have. This is another thing that can be annoying if I don't figure this out. Because I remember when I was doing things with Web3, that if you open a lot of these sessions and then like there's some way that I didn't understand really well that it caches the connections, and I don't know, like I couldn't figure out because I looked into the documentation a bunch, and it didn't have anything explaining how that happens. But like the sessions are stored somewhere, and I think I remember looking at the dictionary that they were stored, but I couldn't understand because they are persistent after you close the thing, and I think it has to do something with the proxy and the Windows, and then it stops working because you open too many connections and you don't close them through these sessions, and it's very annoying. So if I keep opening there, it might happen again. I'm gonna have too many connections and I never close them, and because it stores the connections even after the script stops running, it reaches the limit at some point. And then you have to call some methods or figure out how to clean the sessions. But is the documentation not very, at least for me, I couldn't find the explanation of what's happening. It's probably because it's a bigger issue that is probably related more to the, I think I remember looking into it, and there's a module that it uses to connect with Windows, the request library, and it's probably on that module because it creates proxies and things like that. So that's because of this. Also, I'm using HTTP here. And now it's confusing because I don't know because if I make this function here, how I'm gonna integrate with this stuff that I'm doing here. It's a loop creates task. Maybe just call the function. I think this one I don't need this thing here. And that's the part that I don't understand. Maybe I'll do this part here, run until complete from the loop there, and then call the function. And then I pass the data through the run client. Or actually, yeah, but then how would I create class from the function? Create task. And maybe now it works. And then I pass the data inside of this run client here. And then I have to connect. That's the thing. I think I have to do this and then send. But it's kind of confusing. Like, it's confusing to me because I don't understand how this works really well. Or maybe I just do this and then I send the information there. And then I don't need this create task. I want to be sending the data to this function. And then I just connect there. Maybe that's how I should do it. It feels like I'm mixing up the two things. That's the thing that doesn't feel right. Because if I'm using async IO, shouldn't I use this event loop here to send the thing? That's what I don't. It doesn't feel right to me. And so I think it is better to use both. Or maybe just better to use the WebSocket connection. Fuck. I think it reaches the limits of the amount of text. And the problem is not being able to see the past conversations. I think that's the issue that I'm having, is because I don't know like which thing to use. And what is this standard? Because I think it told me to use async IO, and I've seen the videos as well using the socket IO here. Maybe I'm confusing the two. I think the question is, what is the best way to connect with the socket IO? Maybe I'm confusing the methods. And so I guess I need both, because the WebSocket simplifies the process of the communication, and the async IO creates the async part. Just confusing on choosing what is the best way to structure the functions there so that I can send the data And I can close the connection by pressing Ctrl C there. I think once I figure this out, then I'm gonna focus on creating this vault, the beginning part, and then figuring out how to send the data to this vault. This vault front end. That's what I wanna. That's why it feels weird. I think it's because I'm mixing the things here. I was using this one to connect. I think it makes more sense to use this one, but then, like, the question I had in the beginning was how to stop using this one, but then because I phrased incorrectly, it gave me this other approach here, and then that's why it's confusing, I think. Because now, like, and maybe I do need to use async IO to do this. Like, I need to combine async IO with this thing here. Because the weird thing to me is that it's like sending the thing and then, like, how do I know what's happening? Because I can close the connection after. Yeah, I can put inside of the function and then just try accept. But I think it's not gonna work. That's the thing. I put here. I think I'm gonna delete this stuff. I think I didn't delete the other one, so. Just use the connection. Just send. The thing is, that's the problem. I need to send through there, so maybe I should put this in a function and then send. But then it's also weird. Because the thing is that this is only gonna work, I think, once it creates the connection, but then... Like, what if I wanna stop later? Because if I put while true there, then it is gonna stop the function only at one part where it's sending the data. So the first moment that I get a stack, the first stack is gonna stop the thing on the loop here. That's not what I want. I wanna open the connection and then send the data through the connection and then stop whenever I want to. That's the thing. That's the problem. If I run from here, it doesn't work as well. And now it's sending the other stuff because I put it on a different part. So it is working to send the data. But then if I press Ctrl C here, nothing happens. That's the issue. The question is, how do I... I'm thinking about a way to phrase this so that ChatGPT is gonna give me... Or maybe I should put keyboard interrupt here instead of value error. But it's not the same thing, I think. Because it's not that I want. I just want to be able to close a connection whenever I want. So it's not like, I don't think it is the correct approach to put the keyboard interrupt here. The problem is if I put it in a function as well, it doesn't make any sense. Also, I'm gonna put this stuff at the end. I think that will close the connection after the script runs. Maybe if I put here, or if I put inside of the function, it doesn't work because the function is like going on the loop. It's being updated through the way that I'm thinking about it, is being updated through the whatever's happening here. So it calls this function multiple times. So if I just disconnect, maybe if I disconnect the first time, it's gonna fuck up the other times. Now sending the wrong information. Kind of weird. At least it disconnected in there. And that's the thing, I think is mixing up the... Because I don't want to close on the server, I want to close on the client. That's why it's confusing. I guess to send, all you have to do is put the call the emit. Then how does it work with the other ones? That's the thing. This is what I'm trying to understand because it's not calling the keyboard interrupts thing anywhere. So I'm trying to know or to see if I just add this stuff and then I put this signal library, if it's gonna stop the connection once I press Ctrl C. Because then I don't need this function here or this function here. You can just emit on the inside of the other one. And that would be a lot more simple, a lot simpler. What is the signal in the frame? Well, here is emitting with the callback, which is this here. But it's sad that this is for the only for the response that it gets, and I'm not gonna use the response because I wanna send the response to the front end. Okay, let's test this. I don't see how it's gonna work though, because like there's I guess it's calling here, so maybe this is another library from Python that allows you to do this. think would be good to... Okay, so it is working here. Let's see if I'm pressing Ctrl C, nothing is happening. Which is like, maybe if I put this stuff, but then if I put at the end of the code, if it only works if you put at the end of the code, then it's the same thing as just disconnecting at the end. It doesn't make sense. I'm pressing Ctrl C and it doesn't work. If I can't figure out, I'm just gonna close the connection and then whatever. I'll look into this later. I think from this point, all I have to do, I think I can remove these routes as well. I'm gonna comment out for now, but probably gonna remove because I'm not gonna use this. And the only point of having the Flask thing here is so I can send the data to this, and then I send the data from this to the Svelte front end. At least for now, maybe in the future, then I'll do other stuff, but... And I think that the way that it is gonna work is just through this emit thing here, where I can probably pass some parameter. So here I use the message send. The question is how to synchronize them. Then you should synchronize the front end with the back end. It has to be like specific message for each thing. That's the challenge. Yeah, that's the communication that I need to make. Every time someone does something on the front end, it should like be connected with the data here and vice versa. And I guess that I would add more things here, and that's how it works. Is the whole model view controller thing. But the view doesn't exist here, it exists on the Svelte. So app handles the control, which is the bridge between the model, which is the network, the graph, the production of the data, and then the view is the front end part. Let me move this function to the end there, see if it changes anything. It's probably not going to change anything. But I guess it's just because it's a callback function. The frame and the signal are gonna be the stack frame and the Control C. And I'm not calling them because it's a callback function inside of this function. The handler. Also doesn't work. Just pressing the Control C now. Maybe it's because I'm using sys set trace. So it messes up the functionality of this library for whatever reason. I was using the frames in another way. Or maybe I need to put inside of this function here. And the other thing that is going to be different here than the way that I was doing is that, like here, I'm constructing the graph as I receive the frames, but to send the data, like I'm gonna have to construct the graph on the front end. So I'm not gonna do it with Network X. I'm going to do it with Vue.js on the front end. So I'm gonna have to send the data first and then build the graph. So instead of creating the nodes like this, like I think I will still use the same logic, but then I will need to capture the logic instead of capture the data structure instead of creating here. But I think the only difference is that you create a dictionary instead of doing, because it's the same thing that it's doing, I think. The nodes and the edges are just dictionaries, I think. So instead of creating an edge, I would create a dictionary that connects the edge to that connects through different nodes, and that would be the edge. And here I do the same logic where I append to the stack frame in this way and pop here. But then instead of creating the node, creating the edge, I would create a dictionary that creates a key value pair of the nodes here. And then I send that dictionary to the socket, and then from the socket I send it to the front end, and then use this data on the front end to build the graph. But it gets more complicated, obviously. Because I can't send the nodes and then build with the nodes, not the same thing. The question and the challenge is to, because this is just one type of application, like how I'm gonna make it to all possible different things that I wanna do, because the process is different. Like the process of sending the data is different than building the visualization of the data. But maybe it would be better, but then it's not the same thing. Because I was gonna say, like, to just send the information, like just append everything to. I guess I can do that. I can append everything to a list, and then I can just implement this loop through the list and implement this thing here because it's gonna be the same logic. But then, yeah, instead of doing the return, I can just keep the index. That's a good idea. So I could append like a different pattern to the list when there's a return instead of popping. And then on the front end, I can just loop, and then I can do the same logic that I did here, where we create the stack in the front end. I think that's a better way, an easier way. Because then the logic is the same. So we're just mimicking whatever happens here based on the control flow of this function. Based on the indexes. I think I'm gonna forget about this and just disconnect here and think about this later. And focus on the other stuff. Okay, so a meeting here should probably start doing the Svelte front end now. Yeah, I guess the way that I'm gonna call this function is through another endpoint. That's how we do it. And then the other endpoint is connected with the front end, so that creates the communication channel. So in the front end, you create a button or something, and then every time you press the button, it goes through a route here, and the route calls the function. And then you can add on top of that a bunch of different parameters and things like that. Just select what you're gonna see or what's gonna happen. And then I can have multiple different files that each one has a different pattern. And then, like, the only thing that is going to change is the structure of the data. Or the way you capture here, send it to the front end, and then rebuild. And then it gets more complex when you want to put the stuff about the inputs going back and forth, adding the ability to navigate the files. And I think the way to do that would be to use the sys library or the OS library to navigate in the directory based on the frames here, whatever you're getting, because you have the name of the function, the lines, the code objects, the file name, stuff like that. So you can capture all of that to reconstruct on the computer, the person's computer. Like you use the sys library to get the path to the file and then open in the line that is at. And then synchronize that process with the visualization. I think that's the direction here. Yeah, so I'm just gonna forget about the other thing, and now I'm gonna focus on creating the Svelte front end, I think. So I have to think about how I'm gonna ask the questions though, because I can't keep a long context here. So I think, let me see if I understand what is going on. So through here, I'm gonna connect first this file. I connect to the server. Then I run the script, then I get the frames, then through each step of each frame I send the the data that is in JSON format of the stack frame, of the current stack frame. So this is the part that I'm going to change later. Maybe, so instead of doing this stuff here, I'll do outside. I think I will do that right now. It's easier or better to understand. And then I'll change the logic later of the way that I'm gonna structure the stack frame. But I think that's better. So yeah, but then that's the thing, because yeah, that's where it gets complicated, because if we want to change later so that the person can step through the thing, it would be different the way you have to do it. Because then you would receive an input here. But I guess I can encapsulate everything else on the function later. So they just create a different function, put the logic on the function, and send the data. And then based on the whatever logic, it sends on a different way. I think I'm gonna do what I talked about earlier, which is just do the simplest thing first. Then I'll think about the rest. I'm gonna send the stuff here and remove from here. So first I'm gonna capture everything that I want in this stack frame, or whatever data structure I have there based on whatever I'm gonna analyze. Then I send this through the message events. So I have to understand how this works better. I think the question that I need to ask is how to create a unique communication channel between this part here and this thing here, because this is sending through the event here, the message, the data that I'm sending here. And then I want to send from this one to the front end. But then there has to be a unique channel of communication between the two. So I have to try to understand how to synchronize this one, and maybe it's through the session ID, and then it gets more complicated because there might be other functions that I need to put here to determine that. Because then we might need to create a token or something like that from the front end using cookies or things like that. And then with those cookies, you pass through this function or whatever. So I think that now I have to start creating the front end parts. I started with the backend because yesterday ChatGPT said that it's better, and I think it's better as well because the front end depends on the backend. Other reasons that I don't remember really well, but I think it makes more sense to start with the backend. But now that I have the basics, I think I have to work on the front end now. Yeah, maybe I'll put another message here, or send served graph nodes, something like that. Maybe connect a graph. The thing is, I don't understand really well if, like, I think I'm gonna have to use this event on the front end. So it's pretty much the same thing. But then the front end, I create another socket connection, and then I just listen for this event here. And then from this event, I construct the graph from the data using the VGS library. I think I'm gonna delete these templates here. And now I'm going to focus on creating the simple front end to get the data and build the simplest graph that I can. I think once I have the channel of communication and I'm building the graphs, then I can think about everything else. The fundamental part is just figuring out the communication first and being able to build the simplest graph possible. Namespace, event, data, namespace. So it's probably through the namespace that you create a unique, but then that's the question, because that's like how is the best way to structure that? I think it's becoming more clear in my mind. I think I'm just gonna follow the documentation here. This stuff. I'm gonna close this other. The main thing that I wanna figure out is first the. I think it's just as simple as creating the pages and their components as well. But then I want to figure out the structure of the, because I'm very used to Next.js and React now, where you create the JavaScript function, and then you put the HTML on the return. So I'm not sure what's the way to do it. Like if we create HTML files and then just use the script tag. So there's the two things that I need to clarify. One is Svelte and the other is the VJS, how to incorporate the VJS on the Svelte project. So it's just a svelte file. And the syntax is similar to HTML. You put the JavaScript on the script part and then the rest on the HTML. It seems very simple actually. It's very similar to React. Just slight changes on the syntax and the structure. So it's probably reactive, the things that I'm gonna do, because they depend on the WebSocket connection. The fuck is going on? How do I choose this? I don't know how to choose each option. It goes up and down there, okay. Now this is the part that I'm never sure about, because the most annoying part about TypeScript is that there's a lot of libraries that don't have types, and then you gotta do a bunch of annoying problems with that. I think but obviously I'm not sure with Svelte how it works. I think I'm not gonna create with the TypeScript. Maybe I should use this JavaScript JS doc comments. I think I'm gonna do it without. I didn't want to choose this one though, so I might delete and do it again. I don't know which one to choose. And so there's the routes also that I forgot. Let's do the stuff that is recommending here to do. Just npm install. Don't know the flags though. It's probably just yarn instead of yarn run. It works like this. Oh, nice. So this is the page that is showing. Is because I'm not really sure though. Because it's just Svelte kit body here. There's nothing that specifies that this should be. So now I think I'm just gonna read the documentation, but because here it says routes, so I imagine like that this is the pages, similar to the pages in Next.js, and then this would be the app.js on Next.js, where like this loads the components, let's say. But I'm not really sure. So I need to understand this a little bit more. And then I'm not sure as well where to put the code for connecting with the WebSocket, if it's better to put here, and then you import this somewhere here or here, or probably here. And then you create a page for this. That there's a lot of stuff to learn. Maybe we should watch some videos off stream. I think I'm gonna copy this stuff though that ChatGPT did. Let's do this here and see what happens. So I have to add the libraries, I think. I think I'm just gonna put this command there instead of the other one. Or maybe I'll put it as a comment here so I know. What's wrong with this? Oh, JSON. So I should leave this somewhere so I remember. Maybe I'll leave here. For now. Then I'll think about it later. Because I don't know the difference of using these flags or not. Maybe just should leave this as defaults. Yeah, so now I have to see. Maybe I'm console logging now. So what I'm gonna do is try to. I have to specify the event that I'm getting here. This connected graph. And then I console log the data. And then I open another thing here, go to the backends, send the data there, and see if I receive on the front end. That's a problem. Hmm. I think this opens on the part 5,000. Not really sure. So he's receiving he should be receiving the message from this thing here with the data, which is just the stack. I think this part is correct. So he is just receiving DFS 0 because it's here. So he's sending that to this endpoint here, and then it should be loading this. Maybe I shouldn't load. I should just send. That's the thing, because I'm not gonna use this information here. Let's just send this one, and then I emit to this event here, and then I get this event on the front end. And then I console log this. And so it should also show this if it receives the data. So I'm gonna try to debug with ChatGPT. I should. It doesn't look like it receives anything. I'm just gonna close this one and then run this again. It's definitely receiving. Oh, I stopped printing here. But it's definitely receiving here. So the problem is here, but I don't know. I have to ask questions about this on mount. But I expect it's something for like similar to React for state management, a library from its vaults. So maybe it's similar to the use effect. I think I'm just gonna delete this. Yeah, it doesn't show anything here. Maybe I should just send some fake data first. Yeah, that's the thing though. I'm gonna try to do another file there. So now I'm gonna run this file. I can't run from this because it runs on that one, so. So it's not printing anything here. Message. So maybe I do need to use JSON load. JSON loads data, but it should be printing the. Maybe I just do like this, but. I think I'm gonna print here. Because this is definitely running, I think. And it's not printing anything here. And so what is going on? Maybe it's because of this thing here. Because I removed this part. Yeah, that's the thing though. So what's the mistake here? Let's try this and like this. Maybe it's because I'm running the true, but that wouldn't make sense because they're on different parts. Let's stop this one. I'll try this again. I think like it's not working because they comment this out. That's the only explanation, but maybe I should put app route here. That's because the way that I'm connecting is through the, or maybe it's the thing that I'm using here that is wrong. Should be WS. But I think it's because I don't have the routes, I think. Yeah, it's probably that. But I don't want to put this though. But maybe it doesn't matter. I think you need to put routes so that it has a path to communicate. But it's still not working. So it could be this thing now. Or I have to create a different function. I can't do the route on the same one. That might be the case as well. But I think it should be WS here, because it's a WebSocket connection. Interesting. So it is receiving, but because I don't have the route, it's not working. The function needs to be... But that's the thing, because I don't want to build a website from here. Oh. It still doesn't show. It's weird because it was working before. So what am I doing wrong here? And here I think I did the wrong connection as well, but it worked before as well. But maybe it worked for... Like, it wasn't correct, but it worked. It was just working the another way because I was using HTTPS, but I didn't realize. So it worked, but it worked for the wrong reasons. Because it has to show here the message. But if I do like this, it's not gonna be what I want, I think. That's the thing that is I'm confused about as well. Because the WebSocket connection opens the connection, and there's like after I open the connection from the other file, how is it gonna work? Because the script is only gonna run. Yeah, but I guess after it runs the function, it closes the connection. So it doesn't matter. So it is working though. And that's the other thing that I was changing here, but maybe that's the problem. Hmm. I think I'll try to solve this off stream. Then I'll come back tomorrow and continue to do this. But after I solve this, then I'm gonna connect. I think once I figure out why, once I'm able to receive here, it's gonna send here. Because it's the same events. I think this logic I understand. I just don't understand what is going on now. That is wrong there. But then once I figure out how to send to this endpoint, then this is gonna send, it's gonna receive and send the data to the front end. And then once I have the basic connection, then I think the other stuff that I have to figure out is the VJS, the structure of the VJS with the data. But then once I have all this connection, I think this is like the basic fundamental stuff. And then I can build everything else on top of that later. Like add a bunch of stuff to try to modify the library. See how can I put the inputs so that is stepping through the code and updating the graph simultaneously. Which is gonna be the hard part. So I'm gonna solve this stuff off stream. I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow.